Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind, if we gather together, my name is Joseph Foy, and I have the privilege and pleasure of serving as the president here at Benedictine University. Before we get started with our formal program, I'd like to invite my new friend, Andrew Taylor, up to tell you a little bit about his upcoming film festival. So, Mr. Taylor.
All right. Tyler, tomato. I'm Andrew Tyler. That's all right.
Tyler,
it's all right. He got it. Andrew Tyler. Nice to meet you guys. On August 2nd and 3rd, I'll be hosting my 7th annual film festival at Ankeny Park. It's a blessing because it comes out of the loins of Unity Partnership with Miss Regina Brent. I'll never forget, Regina had turned me on to Ankeny, and Ankeny Park was looking for more diversity at the golf course, the mansion, and everything else. And they said, well, we want more black folk out here. What do we do? And I said, well, I know some black people. and I'll never forget, the relationship was established, and Regina had brought me in, and I had just formed my film festival back in 2019. I went to school for it in 2017. And the blessing of it is that it's the Tylerman International Social Awareness Film Festival. I get films from all over the world. Iran, rape. I get films from everywhere, from Russia, Europe, Africa, wherever they come in, and we play them. Some of them are whistleblower films. Some of them tend to be films that affect our community. And I also, as a documentary filmmaker and a filmmaker in general, I've created something. I'm going to run a quick trailer for you to see it, and then I ask that you guys please come out and support. It's 10 a.m. August 2nd, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then Sunday it'll be from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. So if you can hit the trailer for me, thank you in advance. God bless you. And Tylerman Film Festival, come on out and kick it. Thank you.
Changes through, and the necessary changes start with being honest and transparent. That begins with all of you here today and releasing body camera footage in the immediacy so that people can see exactly what is in it, good, bad, or ugly. But it doesn't stop there.
About warrants was not designed to protect the lives of officers. Our community was designed to preserve evidence in the blood flows.
Yesterday, you rang the peace day. You had a look at gun. That does not justify a mere life being killed in cold blood by the SWAT team, by the MTD, being signed up by the St. Paul Police Department.
It didn't matter that a man's name wasn't on the warrant. But we don't have a right to a name in the eyes of some in this country.
We would not be able to prove in court that Officer Hammond's use of force was not authorized under the law beyond reasonable doubt.
This is what I was called the anatomy of cover-up.
The way they made it sound was like our son was behind the door and ambushed them.
When it comes to these no-knock warrants, it's one of the reasons why we advocated a package of reforms in conjunction with public safety measures. But this young man had nothing to do with the warrant.
Be prepared for this family, because every time you take a step, we're going to be right behind you. This is not over.
Lieutenant said this is the first no-knock warrant in Montana. Is that true?
For us to do that, it would not understand the facts and all this PG.
Are you going to press charges once we show you that there's more evidence in the underlying case?
A man got a name. A man has a name. His name wasn't on your warrant, but his name's gonna be in your logbook.
So I took 56 body cams and I made this documentary. I might be the first to do it. I took 56 body cams, I turned it into this documentary, and we're seeking to get on Netflix, Hulu, one of those. But this weekend I'll do a private screening of it for you guys. So I want you guys to come out for free. It's a free event for this group, for the MLK group, for Unity Partnership. Please come out and support. Also, really quick, just for the mindset of this particular thing, if children are involved, I wouldn't bring your children to see this because I actually show the graphic nature of him being murdered. And it's almost an Emmett Till moment for our generation and how we stand up. And one last thing really quick as I'm talking, we actually won the appeal this week. We actually won the appeal to move forward in the Amir law case, sue Officer Hanneman that killed Amir, so there's no qualified immunity, and a very conservative court in the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals came back, ruled in our favor, and what that means is that you no longer can say you feared for your life and just kill somebody. It has to be justified. So now our case will be used across the globe, particularly in the 8th Circuit, and Lord willing, it'll help save lives, be it white, black, Mexican, Puerto Rican, whatever it is, because there has to be accountability. So again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, God bless you. Now I got to go back to work.
So I made a very grievous error, and that was Mr. Tyler had asked me, can I show this and speak? And I said, well, when do you want to do that? And he said, well, how about right after you give your remarks? I said, why don't you just get us started? And now I have to follow that powerful thing, and so that was my mistake. I will learn from that, but thank you very much. On behalf of the entire Benedictine University community, I just want to welcome all of you, our friends of the DuPage County Martin Luther King Advisory Committee. It is a great honor and a privilege to be able to welcome you all to campus this evening for a special night of interfaith dialogue. We are proud to have the MLK Advisory Committee return home to our campus after so many years. What started as a breakfast has grown into a communal movement, inspired by Dr. King's enduring legacy and made possible through God's divine grace. As we reflect on the ongoing power of Dr. King's vision and the sacred responsibility we have and we share to carry that forward, we offer gratitude to Regina and to Dan for their leadership and for organizing us, to President Emeritus Bill Carroll, who is traveling internationally but sends his warmest regards to us all tonight, for his early work in bringing the breakfast together, and of course the enduring spirit of our beloved trustee and benefactor, Mr. Dan Goodwin, for the support that funds this living dream. Benedictine University is a Catholic institution that is shaped in the wisdom of the Benedictine tradition, which calls us to listen deeply, to listen with the ear of our heart, to welcome all as Christ, and to build peace through community. As such, we embrace interfaith dialogue not just as a value, but as a vital part of our mission to form lives of meaning and purpose. I had asked Dr. Peter Huff, our Chief Mission Officer, about Dr. King's own interfaith legacy. How are we continuing to live Dr. King's commitment to interfaith cooperation with courageous purpose? Dr. Huff shared that, as in so many things, Dr. King was ahead of his time. In an era where interfaith meant mainly Protestant, Catholic, and Jew working together, he worked to bring together religious leaders from all areas and from all walks of life. Through his partnership with Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel and through his admiration for Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. King's vision of community was always rooted in the richness and blessing of diversity, and that includes his peaceful engagement with interfaith collaboration and promotion of a more just world. In one of his sermons, Dr. King reminds us that God has inspired men and women in all nations and in all cultures. He notes that while we may call God by different names, we are united in the divine presence that resides in each and every person and in the sacred work of peace. So tonight, as we gather across traditions, we honor that spirit. We ask that the conversations continue to be bold and respectful and grounded in the hope that Dr. King's life continues to inspire, a hope rooted in faith, lived in community, and practiced in love. I now invite us all to watch a very short video about the blessed diversity of our Catholic Benedictine institution, after which we will hear from the co-chairs of the DuPage County Martin Luther King Advisory Committee, Dan Wagner and Regina Brent, followed by our opening prayer by Carrie Ankeny, our Director of Campus Ministry. So again, welcome, and thank you for being a part of this important work.
On the 2nd of July, 1900, Abbot John Nepomucene Jaeger, monk of the Order of St. Benedict and native of what is now Czechia, was doing what he did best, beginning something. He founded a monastery, a convent, and a school in Chicago. This day, he was consecrating the site of the school's new campus some 20 miles to the west. He knelt on the ground and traced in the dirt 5 Latin words. The place was the village of Lisle, Illinois, population 2,000. The school was St. Procopius College, named after a beloved saint of Bohemia. And the 5 Latin words, straight from the rule of St. Benedict, ut in omnibus glorificator Deus, that in all things God may be glorified. In all things. That's the spirit that gave birth to the great universities of the medieval past. And that's the spirit that has defined Benedictine University since its genesis in 1887. Liberated minds scanning the full sweep of God's creation and discerning their calling in that creation. Now, St. Procopius, later Illinois Benedictine College, and eventually Benedictine University, was no Oxford or Prague. Humility is a hallmark of Benedictine education, and St. Procopius was humble. Enrollment for 1901 barely topped 10. Faculty numbered 6, without a single graduate degree. Tuition less than $100. Everyone was male. Everyone was Catholic. English was the school's second language. Monks and students worked together, prayed together, and played together. Millions of immigrants yearned to breathe free in the United States during those days. Benedictines created a way to belong. They knew some Americans classed them as outsiders. No one imagined a church blessing the modern world, or many faiths and cultures building a beloved community. But all things means there's daring in Benedictine humility. Generation after generation, Benedictine grew into those barely imaginable dreams, with the wisdom of St. Benedict as its compass. From the beginning, Benedictine has engaged students in the adventure of every art and science, elevating the mind, honoring our common home, and advancing the common good. Year after year, students and mentors make the encounter of faith and reason the signature of the Benedictine experience. Welcoming all is the school's unmistakable vocation. Today, the legacy and leadership of Benedictine University reach far beyond the prairie soil where Abbot Yeager traced his 5 words. Proud alumni and partners bring transformative values to the global marketplace. Students, many first generation, just like the founding classes of long ago, bring rich diversity to campuses in Illinois and Arizona, China and Vietnam, and virtual classrooms without borders. And the challenges they face, the demands of justice, the cry of the earth, the very question of what makes humans human, guarantee a rendezvous with futures unparalleled and unpredictable. But one thing unites, actually all things. Abbot Yeager blessed more than a groundbreaking in the summer of 1900. He blessed the people of Benedictine. People of generosity and ingenuity, curiosity and compassion, courage and community. People always ready for the next big beginning. People always ready to serve. People always ready to lead. Today, tomorrow, in all things.
Dalam karya
De social pericuesa.
Carroll, antic choses, véhicule de shape.
En todas las cosas.
Her chisme.
Lahat bagay
Sa lahat na bagay.
and nothing.
Hershey Verde. 万象兼容因天主。En todo. Her chisme. Modern in a.
In tutte le cose.
Sarvatra.
Bosektom.
Satnanya Pata.
Opomini maay heganda asmanekwe.
In all things.
Well, I'm going to talk quick because everybody wants to hear Regina. The wonderful thing about this university, the Benedictine humble spirit, is really transformed and through the leadership. And I will tell you the leadership of Dr. Foy, he is brilliant, he is an incredible leader for this institution, and he is a very humble person. How many people were, we were at Northern Illinois Food Bank, and I think Joe Buchholz, were you dressed in white? So the president of this institution got into this special suit, this white suit, in order to be able to go pack meat at the Northern Illinois Food Bank. And he was in there with everybody else with, I don't know, the ribeyes or whatever he was chopping up, sausages. He got to see how you make the sausages, and he did it. But no one had any idea this is a president of a university, and his humbleness is transferred throughout all of this campus. And I just want to give a special hand for Dr. Foy. We're so blessed to have you in charge of this facility. I will tell you, Dan Goodwin was my second dad. I know our Inland family is here. Would your Inland family please stand and be recognized, who loved Mr. Goodwin so much, and it's great to have all you guys here. It's incredible. Mr. Bob Parks, best friends of Mr. Goodwin, and one of the founding partners of Inland as well. The special place that all of you hold in my heart is so important, and I just wanted to highlight, thank you. This has been just a wonderful opportunity where this lady has become my sister. I've had the privilege to meet all of you and to get to know folks, but one of the people I wanted to highlight is Glenette Tilly Turner. Glenette Tilly Turner is really the royalty of civil rights of DuPage County. At 91 years old, she interviewed Harriet Tubman's last living relative. She wrote a book about that. She wrote many other books. Abraham Lincoln's barber. She's the expert of the Underground Railroad of Illinois and DuPage County. DePaul University just gave her an honorary doctorate. The state of Illinois has honored her lifetime achievement. And on behalf of all of us here at Glenette, can we please have a wonderful hand for this wonderful DuPage County, Glenette Tilly Turner. Love you very much. This lady is just a blast to be with. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the center board that makes this organization true blue and pointing in the right direction of Dr. King and his vision of the blood community. It's my privilege to be able to give the microphone over to the one, the only, Regina Brett.
Good evening, everyone. My heart is heavy right now because I have a sibling that's in hospice at this time. But I have to let you know your support means so much to me that I had to be here tonight, because without you, this could not be possible. And so I'd like to speak a little bit about my friend here, who has also taken this journey on behalf of the community, being a white man, being a Republican, taking lots of hits, but his heart is pure. He has an open door, and I'm just so honored and pleasured and proud to be a sister and a friend of Dan Wagner's. And so I think he deserves a great round of applause. I guess by now we've gotten over the rumor thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
We're brother and sister, that's all.
We're brother and sister. Yes. To President Foy, to Dr. Huff, and to Dr. Carroll, who is not here this evening. We owe a great deal of gratitude to you. Benedictine is not a stranger to this cause, let me tell you. I know when I was running for office out here, I used to attend the breakfasts with Dr. King here in this house. And as for Unity Partnership, our first event to partner the community with policing took place here in your auditorium. And it was a miraculous event because it was at the time when many things were happening across the world that was separating the community from law enforcement. And the doors were open here to us, and we had people from many, many different walks of life to join us in that effort. And so I feel like I'm back at home again, and that this particular cause has come full circle on behalf of Dr. King and Dr. King alone. So thank you for that. As far as leadership is concerned, you know, there's a saying that says, if you want to really know that you're leading the community in a very positive way, all you got to do is take a walk, look over your shoulders, and if no one is following you, you're just simply taking a walk. But it is you who are following us for every effort that we make to continue to keep this breakfast stabilized, to continue to discern the naysayers who think that this is not the proper thing that we should be doing. However, we have the strength and the tenacity and the perseverance to continue this. I would like all of our executive committee, if you're in the room, to please stand. And also our committee members who are in this room, please stand. These people come from many different walks of life with significance. They're teachers, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're corporate owners, they're politicians, they are nurses, they are from many, many places that help people in the community. And when we knit together within this cloth and the links come together, just take a look at this room and see who's here. And so this is why leadership is very important to me, and it is the reason why I do what I do. Chicago made me, DuPage helped me to continue the works that I was sent out here to do. I used to ask God, why did you remove me from my native land? And he said to me, I wanted you to go into the wilderness to make change. And when we hear about all the things that Dr. King has done right out here in this lay of the land, just recently we found out Dr. King was in the forest preserves out here speaking on behalf of housing, trying to prevent the government from building Fermilab so that low-income people would have a place and a roof over their heads. And they said, why do you think he made those moves? It was because death was always on his back. Pastor Shannon can witness that. He can tell you that. And so he thought if he worked fast and smart, he would be able to leave a blueprint for me and for you and for all other people to come together to make sure that the poor, the homeless, and the helpless would be deserving of your support. And this is what he has done. As far as unity is concerned, there was a young lady, and I'm going to be wrapping this up in a minute, at our church by the name of Takina Cochran. She spoke highly from the pulpit. She didn't preach. She didn't give a sermon. She gave a lecture about the body parts. 1 Corinthians, I think it was chapter 12, and all you Bible study people can correct me if I'm wrong. But it says that the eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with a special honor. The parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God combined the members of the body, that's you and me, and has given greater honor to parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. I want to thank you tonight for coming here this evening with your body parts to become a unity as one. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and welcome to Benedictine University. As we gather here, a living example of the beauty of interfaith work, I invite us all to quiet our minds, quiet our hearts, and as St. Benedict writes in his guide for living a good life, listen with the ear of our heart. Let us be in prayer together. God of all, guide our hearts and guide our minds as we more deeply cultivate a community of peace. May we be inspired by those we sit with this evening who are a familiar face, by those we are meeting for the first time, and by those who teach us something new. Let us see the peace of God in one another, so that we may always act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask that you bless the food to our bodies, bless the hands that prepared it, and bless those who work the lands every day, making our nourishment possible. Amen.
Amen. We'll begin with the big picture brought to us by our Chief Mission Officer, Dr. Peter Huff.
That's where you can applaud. I know you were thinking about it. I just wanted to give you permission. All right, thank you, Dr. Dockery. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Especially thank you, Dan and Regina, for just keeping this beautiful community together. Thank you, Dr. Foy, for initiating this event tonight. And I'm especially glad to be part of the program with our student and alumni panelists who will be here in just a moment. I'm going to get my clicker. It was the lack of applause that made me forget to get the clicker. All right, as Dr. Dockery mentioned, I do want to give you something of a big picture about Catholic Benedictine work in interfaith relations and dialogue and friendship and cooperation. In other words, why is Benedictine so invested in interfaith work? It's not just because we're nice. We are nice, but there are other reasons for that. Benedictine University is committed to interfaith work because we're Catholic. So here's the mission of the Catholic Church around the world in just a few words. This is it. This is what the Catholic Church is all about. Worship and prayer, proclamation of the good news of Jesus Christ, education, encouraging every person made in the image of God to develop their mind and study the glorious sweep of God's creation. Service, caring for the young, the elderly, the poor, the sick, the homeless, the unemployed, the incarcerated, the marginalized and oppressed. In other words, imitating the life of Jesus. And dialogue, fostering respectful, mutually enriching dialogue, cooperation, and friendship among people of all religions. Worship, proclamation, education, service, dialogue. The first four are very ancient. The last, surprising some people, including some Catholics, is more modern. The mandate for dialogue comes from an event called the Second Vatican Council, 1962 to 1965. The council is an official meeting of all bishops from around the world, and councils are named after the place where they meet. In this case, about 2,500 bishops. You can see those little white spots. Those are the mitres, the headdresses, if you will, of 2,500 bishops sitting in bleachers in the aisle of St. Peter's. So 2,500 bishops, along with observers from other faiths, meeting in the Vatican. And since there have been two gatherings like this at the Vatican, this one is called Vatican II. Here, interfaith dialogue became an official part of Catholic teaching. A new department of the Vatican was even created to organize and oversee interfaith work. More importantly, a fresh way of viewing the world's religions opened up, seeing truth and holiness in all faiths. A few months ago, some of you heard Rabbi David from Beth Shalom speak about Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, and Dr. Foy mentioned Heschel earlier this morning. Here's Professor Heschel with Cardinal Bea at Vatican II. Heschel had a tremendous influence on the development of the Church's official document on interfaith dialogue called Nostra Aetate. You see that on the right. In English, that's In Our Time. And you can find this document in multiple languages on the Vatican website. And yes, the Vatican has a website, so you can check that out. Vatican II unleashed enormous energy in interfaith experience. This meeting between a pope and an American Protestant minister would never have happened before Vatican II. Never. And once you start doing unheard of things, it's hard to stop. On the right, you see Dr. King and Dr. Heschel together in the U.S. Civil Rights Movement, occurring at the same time as Vatican II. Since the Council, interfaith work has been promoted by the highest levels of church authority. Pope John Paul II was a true interfaith pioneer. Popes Benedict and Francis continued the pattern, and we're eager to see how Pope Leo will advance this evolving legacy. On the right, you see a major success story in Catholic interreligious engagement, that is dialogue between Benedictine and Buddhist monastics. A vital figure shaping official Catholic interfaith theory and practice has been Cardinal Francis Arinze from Nigeria. He's defined 4 types of interfaith dialogue. Dialogue of discourse, dialogue of action, dialogue of life, dialogue of religious experience. In other words, we talk respectfully about commonalities and differences. We work together for good in society. We cross religious boundaries in the ordinary dimensions of life, work, recreation, sometimes romance, and probably the most adventurous, we worship and pray together. At Benedictine, we experience all 4 of these types of dialogue every day. We also strive to practice 10 principles of dialogue. And these principles have been borrowed from Catholic theologian Leonard Swidler. He calls them the dialogue decalogue. And you can find them on the cards at your table. Number 1, do engage in dialogue to listen and learn, not to argue. Number 2, do practice dialogue both inside and outside your own community. Number 3, do be completely honest, both with yourself and with others. Number 4, don't compare your ideals with the other's realities. Number 5, do allow the other to define themselves. Number 6, don't enter into dialogue with preconceptions about where disagreements lie. Number 7, do view everyone as equal partners in the conversation. Number 8, don't tackle hot topics before building trust. Number 9, do be self-critical of your own positions and community. And number 10, do try to understand the other's experience as much as possible. Now that's quite a lot to do, but we can all start somewhere. And as I mentioned, this is not something special at Benedictine. This is something we do every day. And we're learning all the time. We make mistakes, we learn about ourselves, but we keep going because, for one thing, as I mentioned, this is official Catholic teaching. And we want to be an authentically Catholic university. And all of this makes a whole lot of common sense. So that's the Catholic vision of interfaith dialogue and how we aspire to fulfill it at Benedictine. And now I'll turn things back over to Dr. Dockery to introduce our panel.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. We're lucky to hear from 4 of our insightful and dedicated students and alumni tonight. Now, I invite our panelists and moderator to come forward. The front, please. Moderating will be Carrie Ankeny, Director of Campus Ministry at Benedictine, whose initiatives have included the creation of Benedictine's Interfaith Prayer Room and our annual Interfaith Week. Our panelists include, if you could raise your hands, Aya Omar, Narayan Agarwal, Jenna Demas, Saleh Abdul Salam. Aya Omar is a Muslim student entering her final semester at Benedictine University, where she studies health sciences. She recently organized and spoke at an interreligious dialogue focused on redefining success through the lens of faith and mental well-being. Narayan is Hindu and a recent graduate from BenU with a degree in business. He's interested in integrating analytics and AI into business solutions. Narayan has a passion for learning and dialogue and sees every interaction as an opportunity to grow and help others. Jenna, a Catholic, is a dedicated doctoral student and veteran of interreligious dialogue at Benedictine University, where she facilitated campus-wide events and spoke on a global stage under the Vatican's interreligious dicastery. And FYI, dicastery is what the rest of the world would call a department. Currently on her path to becoming a chiropractor, she owns a fitness company in the Naperville area where she integrates the interpersonal and professional skills developed through her time as a Benedictine scholar. Saleh is a Muslim and a recent graduate of Benedictine University with the Bachelor of Science in Health Sciences and an interfaith emphasis. He served as Interfaith Engagement Coordinator for Campus Ministry and received the 2025 Benedictine Service Award for his dedication to fostering interfaith dialogue and understanding within the university community. Please join me in welcoming our panel.
Thank you, Dr. Dockery, and thank you, Jenna, Saleh, Narayan, and Aya, for making time to be a part of this evening so we can all hear all of your wisdom you have to share with us. I really want to jump right into all the wonderful things you're going to have to share with all of us tonight. So Jenna, I know you're busy studying in your program. You own your own sports performance business. And I'm sure that when you began your journey here at BenU as a first-year Catholic student, you might not have thought that, 3.5 years later, you would be sitting here with the experiences that you have had. So I'm hoping you can share, what was it like for you to learn about interfaith dialogue at a Catholic university, especially drawing on the wisdom of St. Benedict?
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. I would say when I first enrolled at Benedictine, I honestly did not know it was anything other than a Catholic university. And then getting to know some... Is that okay? Can you hear me? Okay. Perfect. I'll restart for you guys. So when I enrolled at Benedictine University, I really didn't know that it was going to be anything other than a Catholic university, right? I honestly thought there was going to be a lot of Catholics that I can kind of connect with and get to know. Based on my hometown, it was mainly Catholic, some Lutherans, but I never kind of stepped out of that realm And then entering at Benedictine, I had the opportunity to be part of the Scholars Program that helped to invite a lot of different people of different races, right, different genders, and honestly just different religions. And that was really eye-opening for me because at the very beginning, we were taught that there is so many different aspects to life that you don't understand about a person, right? And especially when you're in this type of university where we're connecting on such a deep level, and to be able to interact with people that are also trying to get like to a similar goal as you, right? There are a lot of doctors, there are a lot of lawyers that are coming out of the school, so to be able to say we are going to be a part of a bigger thing in society, right? Like we are all trying to do what like our goal is set to be. And I think that one thing that really stood out throughout my entire time here at Benedictine was calling on St. Benedict's rule, right? There is a book about that. And what you guys saw on like the front page of your panels too, it says, listen with the ear of your heart. And I think that is such a profound message when you really have to understand where someone's coming from in any aspect of what we're learning here at Benedictine, anything you're gonna do outside of this, but also calling on like the dialogue decalogue, that 8th rule, and to say, hey, like there is like so many hot topics that are in our life, and to be able to build trust with a person and kind of get down to their level was really just like one of the major profound moments that I think we can all take from Benedictine and then also into our life as we move on.
Thank you, Jenna. And you know, something that you just mentioned, listen with the ear of your heart. We've said so much already this evening, and I'm sure Aya and Sally and Ryan, you've heard this in your experiences at BenU. Could any of you expand on that more from what you've heard Jenna share of maybe how listening with the ear of your heart has been a part of your interfaith journey?
Check 1, 2. So I would like to add on that coming from a totally different perspective as a Hindu going into Benedictine University, the first thing that came to mind once understanding that it was a Catholic university was scary. Because as a Hindu, my family came directly from India, and I was raised underneath that in that environment. We were never raised to be afraid of other religions, but it's another thing when you're walking into a university in which, at that time, the public disposition to us was, oh no, they're going to convert you or force their ideals onto you. Because we didn't keep track of, or at least the rest of my family didn't. But I didn't want to live in a world where I felt sort of darkened and blinded, because there were so many good people I knew who I knew weren't Hindu, right? A friend of mine came straight from Ireland that I grew up with. He doesn't know any of the names of my gods, even though I'm named after one. And if you're wondering if he knows my name, I don't think he does. My name's actually one letter away from an Irish name, so he uses that instead. But it made me realize that I should try to venture out into the interfaith and not just run away from the dialogue here, but to actually engage with it. And I think just like you, it was a bit surprising to see just how much people genuinely wanted to connect and learn. And to me, it was the same thing, learning about the verses. I'm probably an anomaly among my family for knowing as many verses of the Bible that I do, which is more than one. But I realized that we have a lot more in common than we think, even though we grew up on totally different sides of the planet. That's all.
Thank you. That's a beautiful gift from listening, when you truly listen to someone, what you can gather from what you've shared. Saleh, I know we've done a lot of listening with each other over the past 3 years, because you were a leader in campus ministry in our interfaith work. And I know you just graduated recently. It's been almost 3 months. So it was a joy to always work with you, and I want to hear a little bit more from you in your time working in interfaith work, especially as a student leader. Why does interfaith dialogue matter? And what would you say to someone who might be a little bit afraid of having that interfaith conversation?
Thank you, Carrie, and if I'm really being honest, the pleasure was all mine.
Sorry.
As I was saying, Carrie, the pleasure was all mine. Working with a group like yourself, with Maya, and everybody that's been with me for the past couple of years has been a complete honor, so to speak. But to get to a little bit of your question, and it is a very good question, very pertinent one as well, I want to take a moment and talk about the fact that now more than ever, we are living in what's known as an echo chamber, where a lot of people, we have the internet, yes, we have connections, we have the ability to talk to people different than us, but our own human psyche or our own biases push us to talk to people that are similar to ourselves. We bounce ideas off of each other. We don't really learn new things, we just repeat what's old to us, because what's old is what's comfortable, and what's comfortable is good. We don't really step out of that comfort zone that much. And at least to me, when I first started off interfaith work, when I first started off dialogue, that first step out of my comfort zone was the worst. The second step was the best. I learned that by taking my second step out of that comfort zone. I was able to see, as Jenna mentioned, that there's a whole world out there that you have not seen. You spent 18, 19 years of your life in that one bubble. The bubble popped. What are you going to do? You can either choose to run away from it, or you can choose to live with it. And to those that are a little bit afraid of starting dialogue, I present to you, you see these 10 commandments over here? Can you have it for a second, Jenna? I say that these aren't necessarily formal rules, more so as they are guidelines as to how to treat people with respect and treat people with proper human decency. They don't necessarily have to be used in a formal dialogue setting where I invite one of my friends, I have him sit down, put out 2 glasses of water and be like, so Narayan, tell me about Hinduism. It doesn't have to be that formal. If you want, it can be. But sometimes dialogue can just be as simple as you sitting with a person that you've known for quite some time, or someone that you just met, and you just strike up a conversation. You talk about topics like, so what do you do for work? What have you done since graduation? And then little by little, we start delving into more and more esoteric topics, more deeper conversations, until somehow we find ourselves talking about the entire pantheon of Hinduism. So that is my answer to your question, Carrie. It doesn't have to be something big. It can start with something small. But that first step, the hardest one, that's what matters.
Thank you. Thank you for your bravery in taking the second step, right? And not ending at the first and saying, okay, well, that was scary, I'm not doing it again. But continuing on. Jenna and I wonder if you have anything to add to that experience that Sally just spoke to as well about, okay, I did this interfaith dialogue thing that I learned in class, I learned from being involved at Venue. Once, could you add more to that, what it was like to keep going?
I do have something just really quick. I do think a lot of people are uncomfortable with uncomfortable situations don't just happen to yourself. I think if you lean into the discomfort, you could encourage other people to also lean into the discomfort. So that's also a first step that is very encouraging to other people if you make it.
Thank you. I am going to keep going with you. You have led wonderful programs here at your time at Venue, and I know we don't have you for much longer unless you come back as an alum like our 3 wonderful alums here. This is your last semester coming up, and I'm sure you have some great interfaith plans for these next 16 weeks soon. I want you to share a little bit more on what's been most rewarding in this interfaith work, because it's tough work, right? What's been most rewarding, and what's been challenging in that work too for you?
Okay, so for the rewarding part of the question, I do have 2. So the first one is I love when I'm able to see the moments of connection between people. I mean, the school's pretty big and small at the same time, so you kind of know everyone. But I've known some people who enter dialogue and they, have this misconception that, there's no way I'm gonna have a common ground with this other person, but yet they forget that, we're all human and it extends farther than religion. You're gonna have some people have the same fears, the same morals, core beliefs, dreams, all of that stuff. So all of that and that realization in itself kind of grounds you and leads the level, that foundation of interreligious, that interfaith space, that's going to become a very strong foundation, and it leads to a very welcoming space. The second thing is I work in healthcare, I work in an urgent care. I see a lot of patients from different aspects of life. I didn't realize until I started my interfaith journey, you can say, that how deeply it affects when you are in a healthcare space. I always say faith is an unspoken language in healthcare, because you know, you're gonna have different beliefs in the person that you're taking care of, but at the end of the day, you know, you can show your faith in a different way, you know, whether it's empathy, prayer, just listening to them, because at the end of the day, you know, patients come, they're vulnerable, whether they're sick or they're scared or anxious, whatever it may be, they are vulnerable. So, you know, having that level of connection with a patient, and, you know, you could have different beliefs in them, is actually really, has really been eye-opening for me. And something that's most challenging, I think, is people, you know, I've had this fear too, the fear of being misunderstood. So a lot of people go into dialogue, like with a lot of topics that they don't think fit neatly into the definition of dialogue, which, you know, then in turn leads to this like stigma where, you know, they're scared to bring up conversations because, you know, like I'm Palestinian, you know, there's some topics that, you know, faith and culture coincide. So sometimes people get scared and they back away. So like I said earlier, leaning into that discomfort is a way to kind of help people, you know, benefit from that, and you can have a safe dialogue.
Thank you. I want to highlight too some of the great work that you did with your most recent dialogue that you led this past spring semester. It really focused on, I believe, kind of vocational calling and where you can find your calling within that and what you're going to do with your life. What was it like for you to be leading that dialogue with your peers and have them, you know, join in that conversation from lots? You had at least what, like 4 different faith traditions present?
Yeah. So I always believe in like you were put on this earth for a specific reason, and you know, I always like my friends. You know, we're all in undergrad, so it's a pretty stressful time. So everyone kind of goes back and forth between like, should I do this? Should I not do this? What if I'm not good enough for this? I'm not smart enough? You know, and I always tell my peers, like, you know, you were put on this earth for a specific reason. Like, don't psych yourself out. So a lot of the peers that were speaking on that panel, I feel like it didn't take much convincing because we all come from similar, you know, psyches where we are kind of all freaking out a little bit because we don't, you know, you get a B on your exam and you kind of think that you're not smart enough for med school. But yeah, so I don't think it was, I thought it was a great event too, and I did have a lot of people come up to me telling me that they really enjoyed it as well. So.
Yeah, you made a common meeting place for everybody, no matter where they were coming from. Yeah. Narayan or Sally or Jenna, would you like to add any insights you have from what Aya has touched on?
I think one thing that you did mention a little bit about was like the idea of hospitality, right? And like I feel like we haven't touched on that yet, but like the idea of honoring everyone as like a stranger in Christ, and getting to know people, like we've all been saying, like on a deeper level, and actually taking into consideration like what the person's saying. So I think that's really awesome that you're like doing all these different events to like get people to connect together. And some of the ones I know you participated in with like me and Adina as well is like even things on modesty, or like we did one with like religion and politics. So to be able to understand other people's perspective from a political lens, but also, you know what I mean, from being able to come from a faith tradition as well.
I really appreciate the points that both of you brought up, and I want to add on to that, in addition to the concept of like coming together as a community and sort of like coming with hospitality, I feel that as well, another addition to keep in mind with that is the idea of humility, where especially I remember at least the second part of the modesty dialogue on politics. I don't remember if I was there for your dialogue on careers, but I'm sure it went well regardless, is that you might end up finding people that have completely radically different views from yourself, but it is up to you to be able to humble yourself and recognize that just because you believe something and they believe something else doesn't mean you have any superior beliefs over them or vice versa. Oftentimes in my dialogues, every single time there's a discussion about religion, almost always without fail there's at least one atheist or agnostic in the room. Yet at that point, the atheist is no less worthy in everybody's eyes than the person that's religious. People that are religious are no less worthy than the atheists. Everyone's opinion in the dialogue matters, and I feel that was what really stood out to me about the concept of dialogue. Everyone had a voice, and everyone was able to speak their mind. and everyone listened.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate both of those pieces you just brought up, Sally and Jenna, naming hospitality, and Sally kind of bringing that to life of what it looks like too. Because if you're going to be welcoming that person, you have to have some genuine listening happening, and really listen, not hear them, but actually take it to heart what they're sharing with you. Nora, I know that's something you're passionate about in all that you're doing, even now as an alum and going into their career field. You're wanting to carry this interfaith passion wherever you're going. I want to hear more from you about how you're going to draw on this interfaith experience at BenU as you journey forward into your life and further in your career.
Well, thank you for asking, Carrie. So, besides the obvious that continuing to engage is how I've ended up here as well, I would say that I don't think I would be any of who I am without being able to engage in that. As somebody of the Hindu faith, and still of the Hindu faith, I don't make a majority of the faith traditions or remotely of the types of cultures and lifestyles of America. And I know plenty of my family, friends, associated with family, who when they immigrate over here, they continue to stay in their small little bubble. But it's not India here. If you go to a country, you should always open your mind to what that country has to offer. And in this case, when I came to attend a Benedictine, I left with something very important. I left with a removal of the fear that can come with being uncomfortable. And I think anybody here who has been, I'm sure the majority of you, if not all of you, have felt this way. There's a time in your life where either economically, financially, anywhere, you have felt uncomfortable and you do not like that, so you gain the strength to change. And in this case, it was me understanding that, though I never had an apprehension before, realizing that the ability to talk with others who are of different faith, who view the world in different ways, makes the difference between somebody you view as an enemy to somebody you view as an ally. If you can understand why it is they believe what they believe in, and you can sympathize and respect them, then that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, a brother or sister in Christ. No matter the faith. So, and as my introduction said before, I am a data scientist / analyst / technical expert in artificial intelligence solutions. As impressive as that sounds, it all centers around the idea that I have to understand that I don't understand what is going on. The biggest skill, and it sounds like a joke, but the truth is the biggest difference between what makes a skilled analyst, a good analyst, and a bad analyst is not their technical skill. I'm sure you know plenty of websites you can go to learn coding, Python, or you can just look up ChatGPT now and use an AI there.
Right.
Thank you. No, I admire the passion. That proves the point, is that we all know about it, but you want somebody with you that can understand what the struggles you are facing with. And that requires an analyst to be well and ready to adapt to something they don't know and be willing to understand you. You hire somebody for logistics, you can't always get an analyst which is an expert in logistics who can do what you need done. But you need somebody who's willing to ask the questions and immerse themselves as if they're going to work for you forever. Because you need somebody who's there for you in the long run. Interfaith dialogue is trying to make connections with people that are genuine. And you can't make a genuine connection with somebody while standing on the other side of the river. I've always loved meeting new people, expanding my mind and brain into learning new things, even if it made me uncomfortable, because I hated being somebody who didn't understand what was going on. And I picked up really ironic job position for that. But I think it comes from the fact that the dialogue here will stay with me forever, because I will forever be seeking. Like, there are some people in this panel here I met for the first time today. And it was splendid being able to talk and learn from them. There's also some people next to me who I've known for 3 years or more. And being able to connect with all these people on the same level, despite all of us coming from different faiths, That is something that I think is underestimated because everybody wants an echo chamber. So as I continue on to my life, the most important part of my career, never mind my life, is the ability to learn how others' experience is shaped with them and to move with them, even if the shoes don't quite fit me. That's all. Thank you.
Sally and Jen and I want to make sure you have an opportunity to share some of your wisdom on how you might see all this great interfaith knowledge and experience you have now at Benedictine affecting your career and your life post venue. You started to touch on it a little bit, and Sally and Jen, I know we've had side conversations about this, but maybe you can share a little bit more because I think that's so important. It's kind of, that's interfaith work on the ground. It's not just, this is a wonderful conversation, but really putting it into action.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Go ahead.
So, I want to bring myself back to a point that I mentioned earlier and touch upon Narayan's point as well, in that dialogue isn't necessarily something we just leave at the door here at Benedictine, but rather something that we live by, something that we seek to understand other people by, and something that we choose to do for ourselves and not necessarily choose to have done to us. With dialogue, at least with me, I feel like it is something that we can take anywhere we go. Like not just this card, mind you, it is a pretty small card. You can probably fit it in the side of a car, but the lessons that are imparted on this card is something that can be used in pretty much any field that we can think about. I can think back to this one time where I was leading a small presentation on how dialogue can be used for a variety of topics. We did a little bit of exercises here and there, and from what I could see from the audience, we were able to engage in successful discussions from everything ranging from dogs versus cats, all the way up to does your vote actually matter in the United States today? With that wide range of topics, it becomes really clear to me that this toolbox is something that can be used for pretty much anything, any field that you go to. Whether you're talking to just one person, or sitting in front of a panel of 50, 60, or more, hopefully more. It can be something that can be beneficial to a wide range of subjects and a wide range of people.
Yeah, and I'll just add on a little bit to that because I know there are some people here that are healthcare workers, and granted I have not stepped into fully entered my field yet, but I do think even from the classes that I've had at Benedictine, the classes that I'm in now, like knowing that you never know who's going to walk through the door, you have no idea, right? And like you don't even know sometimes which door you're walking into, right? So to be able to be completely open-minded and not have any of those perceived notions about a person, about their faith, about what they look like, about their race, about their gender, and to just fully and truthfully be genuine when you're having conversations with people.
Thank you. I want to be mindful of our time and also give an opportunity for us to have dialogue with our audience. I think we have time for about 2 or 3 questions, so if anybody does have a question they'd like to ask our wonderful panelists, you are welcome to. Thank you, Dr. Dockery. She'll have a microphone.
Thank you. I'll break the ice. So my name is Evelyn, and my question is for Aya Umar, because you had mentioned embracing people, moving with them. No, actually it was, I'm sorry, Mr. Salam, moving with them. And as a Latina, and having been raised with my grandparents and my parents, there was always the belief that you have to be careful of assimilation, and you have to be careful and reject the loss of your language and the loss of your culture through this moving with them and assimilating. So how do you reach that equitable medium and the fear of losing language and losing who we are? And that's what my grandparents used to tell me as a Latina: be careful, because too much assimilation is not good. You will lose your people and your culture. How do you find that happy medium?
I think you brought better points with this. I'll give it to you.
You got this, Ryan.
Thank you, my good sir. please remind me of your name one more time? Evelyn. Okay, so thank you, Evelyn. The best answer is confidence. I believe that if you are parachuting, the one thing you will not forget is which handle pulls the parachute. So, in this same example here, if when I was going to Catholic University, my parents asked me the same question. They had the same fear. They're like, you're attending this university here, but it's a Catholic university. You're not Catholic. Do you know what they'll do to you? And I looked them in the eyes, and first of all, I don't know what they may have been implying, but I looked them in the eyes and said, I haven't just been Hindu because you told me to. I am by choice. I'm the one who picked up the Bhagavad Gita and learned to read it. You never taught me my own language. I'm learning it myself. I had to teach myself Hindi, and I'm still learning. All in all, I'm confident who I am. And I believe that I have faith in my faith tradition, so that even if I go into an environment where nobody else shares it, that I won't lose who I am, but I'll become better. I had to be willing to accept some new ideals into my life. That much is true. It's a bit scary to them when I walk into a church and I am able to name all the sigils and etc. around the place. I know how to position myself, how to properly keep inside of a church during Mass. But overall, confidence in yourself is one of the biggest things. Not pride, not hubris, but confidence. If you're afraid of losing who you are, then know what is the most important to you. You won't forget who you are. You'll just grow. Thank you. Anything else you guys would like to add?
Dr. Huff?
I have a question. I would like to know, the panel up there, and most of you are dark skinned, and sometimes that can be related to being black. And have you all encountered the same kind of discrimination in trying to assimilate in the American society that maybe I have?
I can answer this. I don't like stealing the mic from people. So if you want, I do have an example, of course.
As you can see, the rest of the panel here has a great number of experiences, so I don't want to imply that I'm trying to steal the mic from anybody. But I did face discrimination as I was growing through my education. And it was just based on my appearance, the color of my skin, or essentially racism against my ethnicity. There have been multiple times where I've gone for testing and proper exam testing where people have assumed I was cheating or using family connections because they didn't believe either I was doing that well, or those who knew I was Indian assumed that I was cheating on the English portion of the exam. Apparently, it's really illogical for somebody of my ethnicity to like Shakespeare. But that was the comment that was made to me. We actually had to file a full formal complaint. So it's always going to be funny in hindsight. I would laugh about it too. But I will say that one of the biggest things that pulled through it is that though you do face the possibility of that, every single person that goes in with that assumption has this thing in common, and they are afraid. They are afraid of going beyond their prejudice and trying to acknowledge somebody for the content of their character, not by the color of their skin or by the faith that they follow, but by who they are. There's good apples and bad apples in every single batch.
Okay, hello. My name is Edmund Christian. So my question is for all. So understand that the principal dialogues are listed, but if you can make your own principal dialogue, what would it be and why?
I think I can answer this one, and this is something I've actually been thinking about a lot, especially since looking at the state of my own generation and sort of like the world as a whole as to how we talk about people that are different than us. If I was to add an 11th up there, going against the convention of 10 commandments, it would probably be something along the lines of, do not think for a second you are superior to anyone else in the room.
And we have just one follow-up to the previous question.
We talk about often
the history of marginalization in our country. And I think, Reverend Shannon, with all due respect, that it's very difficult for people who do not grow up African American in this country to identify with the level of racism, with the trauma that has sort of permeated our own souls in this country. We live in probably one of the most celebrated counties in Illinois, DuPage County, and yet we have the worst health outcomes. Our black children struggle in our schools. And I'm sitting here in an MLK Breakfast Committee meeting, and I'm looking at this wonderful panel, and the young lady on my right, you said something that really resonated with me, and that is the belief or the fear of being misunderstood. Because as I am working with pockets of young black families and children throughout DuPage County, I have often wondered what is the disconnect? And whoever wants to deal with that, you can. What is the disconnect? And when you said that fear of being misunderstood, that resonated with me. Now, again, we're sitting here, and I'm looking around the room, and my MPH was conferred at this very university, and I have used it well, okay? But did anyone here who planned this event, and what I'm speaking to, and Reverend Sharpton, Pastor, it goes back to what you started here, is, I'm sorry. Okay, it goes back to that. We have to be intentional. How do you put together a panel to talk about interfaith, and Dr. King was keen on that, right? How do we put together a panel and not have one black person up there? I'm trying to figure this out. So let's be intentional. Let's think about how do we heal our community if we continue to marginalize my people. We've got to be better than this. Thank you. Amen.
Would anybody like to speak more on that fear piece? I know you had named it a little bit. With the fear of being misunderstood, I think being misunderstood comes from people taking one glance at you and based on how you look, being like, oh, X, Y, Z, like jumping to that conclusion. I put on the scarf about 1.5 years ago. I wanted to put it on a lot longer ago than that, but my mom kept telling me, like, no offense to my mom, like, I love my mom, she wasn't trying to send me to hell, but she would always tell me, like, oh, maybe wait a little bit because the world that we live in is so scary. Like, the time that I really wanted to put it on was the time that, like, Islamophobia was back up since 9/11. Like, that year was 2023, after everything happened overseas. That does not give an excuse for anyone to target a woman with a scarf on, and say, okay, you are wearing a scarf, so you are a part of this organization. You believe in this organization. So that's why, like, when I was saying fear of being misunderstood, that is, it resonates with so many people. That is, my experience with it. My mom was scared that I was going to be misunderstood. Someone would look at me and think, oh, you are, obviously, we have thoughts in our head. But, like, she would think that someone would do something bad to me. So she was looking out for me in the long run, but, I didn't listen to her, so. But it's okay. Nothing's happened so far. Let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Do you have time for this one more?
I think that comment that was raised really is a legitimate comment. However, I don't think it says anything negative towards the students who have made a powerful presentation tonight. I do believe when you deal with interfaith, you do have to include Christian faith. And if you're going to deal with interfaith, multiculturalism, you have to have African Americans and other cultures, Latino Americans as well. because it diminishes what you're really trying to accomplish. I think this is a great beginning, but we really have to, Dan, think about every time we do these things, he's trying to introduce us to different faith traditions and how they exist within this nation that is anti-everything other than where they are. But at the same time, we can't ignore the realities that African Americans and Native Americans live within. And so I guess we have to figure out as a committee moving towards MLK, how do we have some real hard dialogues, not just with students, but with the adults who have the biggest problem because we're still in charge, unfortunately. Y'all can say amen. That's part of the problem. You know, many of us have lived through Jim Crow, almost lynchings and so forth, so you have that in your heart. And I'm with the kids. I'm trying to figure out how not to be frustrated. So I appreciate what you said. Yes. And I had to do interfaith. And the hardest part for me doing interfaith was having an atheist tell me I couldn't pray. And they would say, when does the meeting start? And I had to think real fast. I said, after we finish this little thing we're going to do right here called prayer, the meeting will start. Before, I would go outside the room because I didn't want to have to argue with the atheists in the room. They didn't want us to pray. Wow. That's how, and everybody else is interfaith. So it's a lot that you have to deal with when you go in with these different faith traditions. So I think we're going to have a bigger dialogue at table by table, Dan. Well, you can come to Rainbow Push and we can have a dialogue there because y'all need to have that drive that I took today. But I don't want to diminish what the students have done. And I would just bring some other colleges out here. We've got Chicago State, we have UIC. We need to integrate your college with the other colleges to really hear, and then adults, we got to integrate a little bit more. Because I'm not Catholic, I'm not Hindu, I'm not Muslim, I'm unashamedly Christian. And so we have to have some real theological discussions because that will bind us. And Reverend Shannon, he grew up under Dr. King. That picture you all have of Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel, they were talking about the war in Vietnam a year before he was murdered. So I think the discussions have to be a little deeper around what was happening. And Gandhi, we got to talk about Gandhi and the Salt March. So I don't want to take over. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I do want to thank our wonderful panelists again. I also want to highlight one of the wonderful things about the Rule of St. Benedict too. St. Benedict speaks in the rule that the leader, the abbot, is to listen to the youngest people in the community. He's very clear about that in the rule. It says that the Lord reveals special insights to the youngest. So I just want to applaud you all even more for being the youngest in the room to share some great wisdom with all of us here. Being very engaged. And now I'd like to invite President Floyd back for closing remarks.
Good job. In listening to our students, you know, I often talk about the privilege of serving as president, and now you see and know why. It's because I have the opportunity to be surrounded with so many just amazing young people, and it gives me a lot of hope to know that they're going to be one day's leading our world. I had some things I wanted to say. But I think it's really important for me to acknowledge our own dialogue principles and say that if one is to listen with the ear of their heart, they have to be open to understanding where they've fallen short. And so whereas our young people who led us in dialogue had the courage to be able to speak their heart, I just want to share with you, I've learned a lot from what you've said. I've taken into account what we have as number 4. Not to compare our ideals and what I understand as the Benedictine faith and the Catholic faith and that perspective of bringing people together, not to compare those ideals with other individuals' realities. So I appreciate that. I look forward to the ongoing and continuing dialogue, because that's what I think makes the advisory committee work so important for this time. So thank you so much for having the courage to be here, to be a part of that work, to walk with one another, and to grow together. I do want to invite Jonathan Krieger up to just say a few words about an upcoming event, and then we'll invite Carrie one more time to close with benediction before those who would like to do the planned tour of campus, the mission-oriented tour, will go with Peter and Carrie. So I'll turn it over to Jonathan, but again, thank you so much, and we welcome you back as often as you want to come. Thank you.
You know, my wife is a retired adjunct professor here at Benedictine, and she's taught at many universities around the country, but when she used to come home from teaching at the university, now I know why she said they're the best students she's ever had. So really, it's amazing. You guys did an amazing job. So hey, I put on a festival here locally. It's called Veggie Fest. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it is a health and food and wellness festival just right here in Lisle. Actually, we had it here on property here for 2 years, many years ago. We get about 40 to 50,000 people at this festival. And what's amazing in the spirit of all that's going on here is that we have 1,100 volunteers coming in from 30 different countries from around the world to support the festival. So you're all invited. It's no charge, except for Dan, we're going to charge. But look us up at veggiefestchicago.org, and we'd love to see you all. Thank you.
When is it?
August 9th and 10th.
From 11 to 8.
11 to 8, is that right? All right, 11 to 8, 9th and 10th. All right, well, thank you all again for being here at Benedictine this evening and taking time out of your busy day to be in dialogue with all of us. Before we close in prayer, as Dr. Foy mentioned, if you did sign up for the tour, we'll be walking through a few of our buildings that are all connected, so you can be in air conditioning for a while. But then we will head outside, and if you would like assistance to the next building we'll be going to outside, there will be a golf cart available. But Dr. Dockery, wave your hand, will be taking the group to the second floor of Goodwin, where our student leader, Maya Alcantar, will lead all of you on the tour of the venue. So I invite us all now to quiet our minds and quiet our hearts for our closing prayer. Join us in reflection as we are in prayer together.
The Benedictine tradition honors prayer and work, seeing both as holy. Throughout centuries, wisdom teachers around the world have offered summaries of the sacred work. Some speak of the greatest commandment, some of the golden rule. Listen to how our traditions communicate the essence of our highest ideal, and reflect on how you live out this high calling in your life.
From the Mahabharata and the Hindu tradition, this is the sum of duty. Do not do to others what would cause pain if done to you.
From Rabbi Hillel in the Jewish tradition, what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. Go and learn it.
From the Hadith in the Islamic tradition, not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself.
From the Gospel of Matthew in the Christian tradition, and everything do unto others as you have done them to you. This the law and the prophets.
May all of us here sit within the love of the golden rule, calls us to live out each and every day. May we be led by the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I have decided to stick with love, for I know that love is ultimately the only answer to humankind's problems. Amen.
Amen.